welcome to another episode. I'm here with Jeff Abney. Jeff's got years of experience in the industry. He works at DDITC. He's been president of multiple companies as well. Right now, he's in charge of the federal business development, among other things, at the company, and everything that needs to be done. All right, thanks everybody. Enjoy. Folks, welcome to another episode of Failing Daily. I'm Bill Williams. I'm here with Jeff Abney. He's from DDC. He runs for the entire corporation, which he'll explain, the federal business development practice for DDC. So Jeff, can you tell us a little bit history, catch us up, maybe a little bit about the company and yourself, and then if you got any good fun stories, we'll always take them.
Okay. Well, thank you. So really been looking forward to this. I like talking work. So I'll start off a little bit about myself. So I've been in this industry about 25 years. I started with a very large company, top 5 strategy consultant, did that for about 13 years, running various IT programs before having the opportunity to come in and work for Diné Development Corporation. So in 2016, I came over to Diné Development Corporation as the Air Force Portfolio Director. My job was, it was growing in the Air Force. My previous employer had gone to market with them. We had won some work. They needed somebody to kind of manage the operational stuff there in Dayton, Ohio as it was growing. So I came in and did that. And about a year into it, they asked me to run, be the president of DDC IT Services. So I stepped in that role of October 2017 and basically ran it up until February of last year. While I was the president, they gave me another subsidiary called Red Canyon. So basically running 2 subsidiaries. If you're not familiar, the ANCs, the NHOs, the lower 48s can run multiple subsidiaries at any given time. So ITS, growing out of the 8A program, was starting a new one for me to start bringing up from scratch. So
can you just give 15 seconds on what's an ANC?
Yep, sure.
In case anyone doesn't know.
So some of your Super 8As out there in the DoD space you've got the ANCs, that's the Alaskan Native corporations. They've been doing it probably the longest. You have the NHOs that are the Hawaiian Natives. They're part of the Super 8A program. And then lower 48, like the Navajo Nation, which we are part of. They're part of the 8A program. So
okay, thanks.
So in February of this year, I moved up to the DDC, and that's where I took the role of business development for Department of Defense. So one thing that I think sets DDC out from other tribals is our innovations people. So that we have those people in at the DDC level. They're a common service for all the entities to use. They are some of the brightest people I've worked with in my entire career. Those people you don't want to lose on contracts because they're that good. We pulled them on the contracts. They sit on the innovation side. They are what I coined as my SEAL Team 6. I take them to customer visits where I need thought leadership and need to have some guidance there in IT. I take RFIs, RFPs. They're the smart people behind what we deliver. So I really use them a lot as I move forward. So that kind of is a little bit about me and DDC. And if I left them out or create some questions, by all means, ask.
No, that's great. Maybe move on to the journey a little bit. This is where we start talking about where we screwed things up, the fun stuff. So
the journey.
Yeah.
So, I
start anywhere you want.
It's fairly funny to reflect. I don't know, it probably wasn't obvious when I was talking about Diné development. When I came in, there was only about 15 people in the Dayton area. And fast forward to today, we have a 33,000 square foot building. And it's been very surreal to think about how things have changed from the day I came in. And so when I came in, I was the only one here that was driving the business and taking care of the people in Dayton, Ohio. So a lot of the decisions that had to be made, where previously in my career, I had others that I could ask and get advice from and talk to about what I should do in this situation and that. I didn't have as much of that because I was kind of here by myself, and we were really small in what we did. And it's not that people wouldn't help me in Diné Development Corporation, but they had different viewpoints, different areas they were working in. There was just one in my area, and it was just me, and those decisions came to me. And I think the most enlightening part as I look back is somewhere along the line, I realized that I have to make a decision. It's not like I could just sit and wait for someone else to tell me to go do that, or this is the thing to do. That, Jeff, this is you, and you're the one that's going to have to decide right, wrong, and different. You're going to have to make the call and go do it. And
so let me ask real quick. So when you joined,
2017, when I joined as Air Force, 2017 was president. So
okay, how many different? And maybe we should describe a little bit how this works, but how many different companies were there in DDC?
So I will tell you, when I came in, there were two. It was Nova Corporation and DDC IT Services. And the concept of the shared service model, we really didn't have yet. A lot of the shared service function was happening inside of Nova. And I will tell you that that kept going to where we got Diné Source, third subsidiary going. And what that did, and it wasn't on purpose, it created silos of activity and the business development activity and things. And at times, we were almost competing with each other because we did things in silos, and we would find out that, hey, the other subsidiary is tracking this opportunity too. They want to do it, and they want to be on our team. And we were teaming with each other, which just didn't make sense at the subsidiary level to do that. And if I take that evolvement and go to 2018, 2019, we went through a whole branding restructure and a whole thought process of going to market as Diné Development Corporation instead of our subsidiaries. Because the concept of do you want to be a house of brands, or do you want to be a branded house? If you look at a lot of the other Super 8As, the more mature ones, been around a while, they're Shenega, they're whatever the other bigger ones that are out there, ASRC. They're the bigger ones that basically go to market as the holding company because that's what they're known for. So we were converting to that, and I think that was a big change for us. And I think one of the outcomes of that wasn't perceived is that silo mentality kind of changed. We kind of started working across each other and leveraging economies of scale with the people that we had. And then, like I said, the final move was the VPs at the vertical level at the holding company that happened this year now go to market, and then the verticals work with all the subsidiary presidents when it comes to execution.
All right, so I want to come back to how you make that transition. Was it a top-down, bottom-up, that kind of discussion? But can you just describe, there's a unique thing that some folks may not be aware of relative to, you have multiple companies sharing past performance, that?
Yep.
Because of the structure. Could you just describe how that works because of the uniqueness of the set aside,
I think I know the affiliation that we're allowed to do.
Yeah, it's different. Like it's as if I had different divisions inside my company.
Right.
But you guys can do that.
So I think, Bill, what you're alluding to is the fact that we can leverage other subsidiaries' past performance. Obviously, when we go to market on a specific opportunity and get down to the entity level, we're not going in as Diné Development Corporation. We have to pick which subsidiary is the best suited for this engagement. So we make that, but we might be in a situation where I might want to put Northstone out that's just a brand new, actually it's not brand new, but it's a smaller company, doesn't have as much a past performance, it's direct award capable, blah, 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 but I might need a key past performance that is in DDC IT Services. And that's it's out of the program, but it's a sister company. Through the affiliation and what Tribals could do, we can share that past performance with Northstone, and Northstone can treat it as its own because it's allowed to leverage that. And that's how we start to feed into these smaller 8As and get them going on their own, and thus making them stronger and stronger to stand on their own.
So, and then retire them when they're too big?
There's two philosophies. Believe it or not, when I took over DDC IT Services, and you will probably really resonate with this a little bit, I was asked if I was going to keep the pedal down on DCITS because it was going to graduate out of the size standard. It was going to be full and open, and everybody knows how scary full and open is when you're just cresting the threshold, right?
Yep, scary.
And they were asking if I was going to plan to keep DDCITS small, and the answer to that was no. Why would I take my foot off the gas? If it because of how we have the other subsidiaries, we have safety nets involved where an individual company would not. So no, I was going to keep the pedal down, and if ITS comes down into small business again, we'll just use it as that. Nova was our first 8A company. It is now a small business. It's gone all the way up to full and open. It's come back down. It's now in small business, well out of the 8A program, but it's still out there now.
I mean, if you could keep growing large business work and it's successful, then that's past performance that all of your other companies can use. So you could start a one-person company over here and it's using past performance that's whatever, a 500-person large business effort, which is massive.
Absolutely. And there are some tribes out there that spin them up, leverage the 8A, and then when it can't do the 8A, they just kind of let it die out and they start another one. You can do that. I mean, without a doubt. DDC and how we look at things. If you look at the 8A program, it's a tool in the toolbox on the government side to kind of commoditize IT and centralize some of that contracting activity.
Okay.
So that's always going to be something that's there on the government side. It's a tool they want to use for butts in seats, right? But if you look at IT on a spectrum, and you've got on one end your commoditized IT, and then at the top end your modeling simulation, some of the higher end data management, data mesh opportunities, there's a line of the maturity level of the IT that you're delivering. We are probably in a 60-70% of the commoditized IT with a drive to get to the higher end modeling and simulation work, right? And that's a challenge in the 8A program because a lot of the 8A work is not the higher end work, right? Sometimes we see sometimes.
But that's a great base. I mean, you need revenue in order to invest in other things, right? So,
but noticing the difference in those two things, if I have a bunch of system administrators and help desk guys, and knowing that that's commoditized IT, and the guys that are putting in data fabrics and standing up in Cloud One or things like that's a higher end skill set that it takes to deliver those kind of capabilities.
So. God, I had a ton of questions in there. So I was going to go back. Let me go back to just a little bit. You guys went from, okay, I got two companies. They can share past performances, let's say, just talk about that, whatever. But they don't really because we're kind of not set up that way. Then you went from, how did you say it? Do you want to be two companies in one?
Do you want to be a branded house or a house of brands?
House of brands. So then you transitioned to DDC became the not just the holding company, but the shared services model, and there's companies underneath it.
Correct.
That's a whole corporate change. So can you just talk about challenges associated with that? How you did it? Was it more of a top-down, we're going to do it, and then blah blah blah, or like, and how much begging and pleading did you have to get people to do stuff? Like I can't even get people to fill out a CRM half the time. So, how did you do it?
It's an everyday fight, and you know as well as I do. To do this kind of stuff that we do, it takes people, right? And you've got to really invest in your people and spend time, explain to them why. It's a challenge because everybody in the organization is doing what they think is the right thing for the organization. Sometimes it's a little off. And sometimes we have to regroup and figure out and explain, this is why we're doing this. And that's why you're doing it this way, it doesn't work, or this way. I think recruiting has always been a challenge for us. It's just hard to find some of the people. And so I believe talking through recruiting on, there's firms out there that'll do temp to perm with you over a 6-month basis. And you flip them for free, after 6 months. And their RAP is so low that you can get under your bill rate, right? So you understand the business, you understand that concept. Sometimes with our recruiting, explaining to them that it's okay to go and get that third-party person if we can fill the spot. Because now I've got it full. I'm not making as much money. I don't have an employee on it. I got a temp to perm on there, but it's still making money for me. In 6 months, I flip this guy and he becomes one of us if he's worthy enough. That's an okay thing versus recruiting thinking, hey, if I don't fill it myself with my team, maybe I'm letting them down, right?
Right.
Because we've got 3 or 4 recruiters.
Expectation setting. That's
exactly.
I've done a few things on expectation setting, which
right.
apparently I'm not very good at, but yeah, it's a thing.
It's an ongoing thing. You've got to keep doing
all the
it.
time.
Yes.
All the time.
Just because you say it once doesn't mean it was heard.
On this first moment, we talked a lot about the mechanics, kind of merging, becoming a shared services model. How about, and you might have answered it in part because you're talking about communication, but how about leadership relative to that? Who leads a change like that? What were your challenges associated with that? And you got to have screwed something up along the way. So you're like, what didn't go well? And I guess it could be on that, or if you want to choose something else. But
this is the great one. This is the funny one. And anyone that sees this podcast that's worked with me is going to laugh when they hear it. They're called Jeff emails. Jeff sees sometimes emails and thinks whoever he sent them to is in his head, right? And basically knows everything. And I leave off some of the detail, right? But I think this leads into the transformation.
Yeah,
the transformation from my own personal growth. Like I came in, I'm a pretty, if you're familiar with the DISC profile, I'm a D type personality. I'm pretty straightforward. I'm transparent. Sometimes we took some training that got to teach me about the other personality types. These other personality types I learned don't necessarily react like I want them to react or how I would react. Right. So learning this skills.
Don't D personality types think the other personality types are stupid?
No, there's no personality type that's stupid. And the best person is the person that's whatever personality type they are can work the best with all the others. So I realized that sometimes I have to change my tone and how I want to get something done with depending on the person that I'm going to, right? Some people will work to the bone for you, but they'll never tell you they're being killed. You got to actually ask how you doing, right? Is your bandwidth okay? You got to be more in tune to what's happening there. But so as I go back and start to talk, and the funny part about that is how I've personally changed because of those emails I said long ago, and I give half the detail there. I still do it from time to time, but I've been given some advice that investing in your people and teaching your people and showing your people the why. And it's never become more apparent to me in the last 3 years of my career that I spend the majority of my time enabling my team or people around me to be successful in what we're doing. And that's a lot of juggling. It's a lot of different opinions, a lot of phone calls. Like, half my day on Friday was just having one-on-ones with people just to keep my relationship with them good.
Yep.
And I think, once again, what I'm saying here is that relationship aspect and that one-on-one aspect with the people you work with, it's the best thing and it's the most critical thing, because as you climb the ladder, you want those people to want to work for you. You want them to be your supporter. You're trying to win them while you're trying to get everybody rowing in the same direction.
So I gotta see if I have it on here, because this came up before. Yeah, there you go. Here's a quote on my email you've probably seen but never really read. The single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it's actually taken place. Right? George Bernard Shaw. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I do it all the time. I send stuff and don't they understand? Seriously? And this was the expectations thing too. I always do this, how could he not know to do that? I actually never said that. Oh, wait.
Well,
I thought you could read my mind.
One of the things, tactics I've used to get better at this is communicating. When I'm communicating one-on-one with somebody and talking and got a direction, whatever, is, I'll ask. Okay, so we talked about this. Can you tell me what your next steps are, what we talked about. Because one step is giving that information, right? And the other part is receiving that information, and both of those can take on a better picture of what you're trying to solve. So when I ask them to relay it back to me, that's giving me the opportunity to say, did I say it all the correct way? Did I leave anything out? And them verbalizing it makes them process the tactical things that they need to do to help be on the same page.
Yep, and I'll add to that. For me, what I learned, my friend Kevin Laux, who's probably the best person I know at this particular thing, and it sounds stupid, but it's the simple fact of they verbalize it back. There are some actions that you're going to do. I actually write them down, at least mostly now, and then have a way of either following up, because maybe it's an action that needs to be done, but in the next conversation, like if you do quarterly calls, you have a note and you're like, so how did that go?
Right.
People are like, oh, you remembered that? What the heck? That's powerful too.
Yeah, it is, because you're keeping track, right?
Because you're keeping track.
You're keeping track.
And now that I think of it, I still don't do it as much as I should, like really. Know? But
right. Well, the saying, you can lead the horse to water, you sometimes can't make it drink.
Right.
You always got people like that too, right?
Right. No, that's 100% true.
How do you keep motivation in your employees and keep that at the highest level as you can? Because as long as they're motivated, they're helping move the business, and it's a good thing for the organization. So, I implemented a concept called second team concept. And when I say second team, everybody has their right and their left arm, the people they're going to go to in whatever role capacity that they're going to be in. And, I put on top of that is you're going to look for the next job. So you need to look at the people that's going to take your job, because you're going to move on. You're going to move up the chain. So who's going to take your job? That's the second team concept. And so you got to keep in mind that, and have this philosophy and assumption that everybody that works for your organization wants to be a part. They want to do good things. They want to help move the needle. They want to succeed. So I think giving them things to aspire them to go to the next level, learn things, I think is always good. So in the second team concept, we basically have taken and tried to create lines of communication from the people on the keyboards, working with the customer every day, through the middle management, all the way up to the senior leaders. We wanted an avenue, a communication channel for free flow of conversation. So we all know that the generalized concept of a program management review, that would be a review with the portfolio director running the programs, and somebody on the keyboard to explain what's going on in the charts. What's in the charts? Okay, your typical, what do we do this month? What any issues or problems, vacancies, blah blah blah. And all that's good stuff, and it's just, I won't say it's noise, but it really is about getting the people on the keyboard to know me as a business leader, me as the person at the helm that cares about what they're doing every day and what their problems are. So yes, we talk to you about those important factors and vacancies and stuff and delivery, but my ultimate goal is to know Airman Snuffy on the keyboard, or Joe or Bill or whoever that is, and maybe their kids, and create that bond. And so we also took that training, and for the program managers, we would teach them how to run profitability reports and how to manage some of the items, trying to push down what you can push down to them, right? That makes and inspires them to want to go take the next level job. And that's something I've used in the past as far as helping invest in the staff, making sure there's a bigger picture. We all know that sometimes our staff will go into work for a customer, and if we don't stay engaged, they might become more inclined to be with our customer than they will us. So it's a constant challenge for us to care and feed for those people on the ground, give them something, inspire them, whatever it is. And that's one of the mechanisms we try to do once a month to try and create that bond.
I want to pull out one part of that. I think that's a really good point. It's kind of like the expectations conversation we did earlier. If your people go native, if they feel like they work for the government, and I think in the past I've just complained about, they just feel like it's your fault, right? It's it's you're not engaged enough with those folks for them to feel like they're part of your company, whatever that reason is. I mean, there might be good reasons for it. There may be, in a remote location somewhere, but it is what it is.
Right.
Like, you can find other ways to engage them. That's true. So, but I wanted to, go ahead.
No, one thing I wanted to tell you made me think of is, so when you have those engagements and you have those one-offs, maybe you give a spot award or something for somebody, how much lift, when I say lift, the person's inspired by your company, loves being there, and really happy about your company. How long do you think you get that feeling out of that person once they get that notification, they did well, they did whatever, you showed up, you talked to them, whatever it is? How long do you think that lasts?
I don't know.
It lasts about 6 weeks.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's a metric I've seen thrown out there that's why it's a constant thing. If you want them to have that feeling, you've got to have the constant engagement and give it to them. It's almost like communication over and over and over again.
What does it take to extend that? Like, can you do stuff to extend that? Like,
constant engagement. It's like your communication.
Constant engagement, and say, this is my employee of the month 3 months later. Don't forget, this is our employee of the month, or whatever.
Get them all jazzed about it. Now, if you took every employee that you had and they were all competing and trying to do awesome things for your customers to get employee of the month, wouldn't that be a culture that you would love to have?
Yeah, it would be great.
Absolutely.
That would be
a
cool.
big thing.
We do employee of the month, and I think it's great. Actually, people really appreciate it, and they deserve it. But I don't know if we've always made it clear that you could earn employee of the month. It's just kind of voted for up top, and then people are picked out.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we've ever set expectations like, hey, you can actually, maybe you should be able to apply for it, or you should be able to do things so that people know, like, hey, I'm an employee of the month. We're probably missing people. I didn't think of that. That's good.
We have spot awards that we do, but we just started this year with, I don't even know the name of it, but it's a once a year award where we will pick somebody that is supporting a customer, and they win our Employee of the Year award, and they get, I don't know the amount, a dollar amount, which is significant, towards vacation to take them and their spouse.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so
that's a good idea too.
And then its onus is on the managers and directors to put their people in. They got to put those people in for that. That's kind of the problematic thing that you have to keep pushing, because it takes time. To write it up. It can't be this might go vote for so and so.
So Nirvana, second team concept, right? Nirvana there's some picture of what Nirvana is on that. I assume because you agreed to chat on Failing Daily, you might not be at Nirvana on this, or some other things. Are there particular roadblocks that jump out at you to try to implement a thing like that, and have the keyboard guy understand what the leadership what are the roadblocks? So other than us.
So I think what the roadblock for me is, besides it's a constant, right? You got to constantly be thinking of how to motivate the staff and keep them going. The second part is, for me, a lot of the things that I might want to teach them programmatically around the business aren't necessarily subsidiary functions, they're shared service functions. Those shared service functions have a responsibility to someone else. So I have to work to make sure that shared service person is on board with why I'm doing this, to kind of help train people on how to do things. And I think it took a little more of the, I would say, the salesmanship into the shared service to say, look, if we have our people learning how to help us run the business and pushing things down so that they can do it, and why, then that helps us grow as an organization. It helps us we have more people with ammo to shoot the bad guys or whatever it is. Right. We got more people that can help. So it's not something that's stopped with just me because of that shared function thing. All
right. So you say it helps us grow the organization. Some people are going to be excited about that. What are some of the other things that we do that would motivate someone to accomplish the same thing, join and be part of the team? I mean, like, the mission comes to mind, right? Things like that. So you got the mission. I'm wondering, are there other things, or is it how much time do you spend getting to know an individual because their vacation's important to them, or how far do you go?
Yeah, you could go a lot of different directions.
I mean, if you really knew every single person, you'd know exactly what to get them for Christmas. But
I think the answer to that is, if you're not closed to anything and you're open to finding different things of value that your staff might want to attain. And that's to your point, it might be more vacation, it might be a bigger raise, it might be, I want to get in front of some people and I want to teach them about this technology I'm using. So maybe it's a brown bag schedule that you put out and people volunteer for a brown bag to come in and demonstrate what they did for a mission, right? As long as it's not classified, things like that, right?
Right.
They want to feel important. And I think that's the other part you got to remember is you want to feel that all the people doing delivery want to feel valued and important, down to the first guy. I remember early on in my career, in the mentorship role, I could see what would happen.
You just went to the next question. That's awesome. Go. Mentorship.
So you bring in the new person that just got out of college, right? And you say, look, you're going to work on this program in this location, learn that team, learn everything that happens with that team, learn that customer. That's your goal for the first year. Second year, well, okay, what other contracts do we have that are associated close to this in the same location? And then who do you know in the leadership team? You need to start expanding beyond your program to surrounding programs in your vicinity because, oh, by the way, that's the quickest way to grow organically is getting the things that are close proximity. And then start getting with your leadership. And then because it was a very large business, that one of the third ways we talked to them like year 2, year 3 was working outside of your geography. Build relationships with people in DC, build relationships with people in Dayton, in San Antonio, so that you can collaborate and go to scale.
So when you're saying all that, because you started that sentence with early in my career, is that what someone did for you or what you're doing for your people now or both?
So that's how I did it at that organization. As I see myself now there's differences because there's not so many geographies, but teaching them to learn their program intimately and well, and then learn the programs that are next to them well and what's going on there, and knowing their leadership team, that still happens.
Yeah.
I don't push out the geographies because we don't have as many geographies as I did at the
Okay, so
open.
Do you have a formal mentorship program? And if you do or don't, how do you make it? Because mentorship is really an organic thing.
It is
when it's done well. How do you have a formal program?
We do not have a formal program.
Okay. Does it happen?
Yes.
So
I told you on Friday.
So how does it happen?
So when I talk to people and I offer myself up to them if they want, and if they want to spend an hour, and I try to get it out at least once a month, I have probably 10 to 12 people and some are not in DDC, some are in industry, where I basically will take an hour to sit and talk to them and kind of answer any questions, tell them what's going on in the world. And I tell them that you should have as many mentors as you can get. Because
we talked about this the other day. I love it. Yeah.
At the end of the day,
a lot of people think you have to have like this 1 3-star that's your mentor or something, and I don't think that's how it works.
It's not. It's taking all the exposure that they give you and just analyzing it and adapting it to what you're experiencing. And I don't think you can have enough mentors, and you just take the pieces that you think make the most sense for what you're trying to
put it together.
Yeah.
So do you do anything so you talked about, I'm going to ask you about people mentoring you in a second, but you mentoring people, do you encourage somehow folks that work for you or in your organization to mentor others?
Yeah. I guess that's a good point to bring up, that I probably haven't done that specific thing in recent years. I've more focused on mentoring other people, but now that you bring that up, that's a gap. That's something I need to fix, because I know in my personal growth, becoming mentors to other people helped me grow. So if I want to mentor other people, if I'm not telling them to go mentor other people, I'm taking that away from them as something that can help them grow. You can grow just by mentoring people.
Absolutely. What's that? Some saying that you don't really know something until, like, not teach it but do it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So
there's
when you're
learning it, then there's teaching.
There's teaching. Yeah. So when you actually are mentoring, you actually you're learning.
It's the other side of it.
So, which, by the way, I brought that up because I have that same gap. We don't have a formal mentoring program. We talk about it. Maybe we kind of have tried. But the non-organic part of that is a struggle for me because I don't know that it works. But I like I'm always available. I like to mentor people, but I don't know that I've gone and said, you should do the same to my other folks.
Right.
And I've got some great folks who...
As soon as you said that,
yeah, they really should
yeah.
mentor. Maybe what I should do is, because I'm the one who tends to do it, maybe I should think about handing some of my, they're not formal, but mentees off and say, you should call this guy. I think I do some of that, but you should call John or you should call Val.
I encourage people to go get other mentors. I do that, but having them be a mentor themselves, I have not done that, and I will definitely take that as a lesson learned to put in moving forward.
Failing daily, whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Hey, we hit the point.
Yeah. So last thing on that is, I'm curious if you got any stories about you being mentored. You started with one, but what does it look like now for you? You're a senior guy. What does it look like now? Any particular people or just a bunch of different people and different things that mentor you in? Or are you just out seeking information and consider that mentoring? Like, what's it look like?
I believe in this career field, you learn something every day. I mean, it doesn't always work the same. And there's some really impressive people I've seen in the past. And, we share friendship with one of the ones I think is the best.
Yeah.
And like yourself.
We're allowed to say his name. Jeff Diné. Thanks, Jeff.
The master.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks for hooking us up. We wouldn't know each other without him.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, I think that's important. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Whoa. Look at that.
And the
We're
last
safe.
thing on the
Everything's
video
okay.
was
right close to
was
death.
running into the back of the semi.
Jesus criminy. All right. That's probably another strike against me. I'm going to lose my full self-drive.
I think from my perspective, I think I've had a softer way to be an entrepreneur, not actually owning. It's owned by the Navajo Nation, but having the flexibility to run it as if I own it. So I
throw in? I said this earlier.
Yes.
Larry came up. This was his term, so give it credit. I put an asterisk, but he called it an intrapreneur instead of an entrepreneur, which was you can be entrepreneurial inside your business, but then have some of the resources there to support you, which I don't think makes it less entrepreneurial.
I could go with that definition. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, but I think, when you're an individual and you start out, there's so much unknown, and it's, to your point, separating unknown from risk is hard because you don't know the unknown. You don't know what you don't know. And I think when I came over, having the tribal advantage that we had, and we already had a foothold in some degree, and I'd grown up in Dayton doing delivery for 15 years. So I think I had a little softer way of moving into that entrepreneurial spirit than someone just starting like yourself that had to go out and, okay, I got my own business, and now I need to get an HR, and I need to get policies in place, and I need to get on payroll, and I got to do all that stuff.
Except as you grew, you had to go do that stuff.
No, they were already in the shared service. The shared service was, now the shared service.
Not DDCITS. You said earlier that you started off smaller.
Yeah.
And then there was a time when you were like, no one's telling me what to do. I got to go figure it out.
But those functions existed in Nova at the time, and Nova did it for everybody. Okay. So they were in their infancy.
You do realize that we all, like, I had friends that helped me do it for a while till I could afford it, or you hire a service. So it's all the same. Honest to God.
I think that now, but I think in years in the past, I haven't, and it's still a little fuzzy to me. You're just going to go hire that service, right? Until you can get to have it on your own, right?
Yeah.
But in our services, even though they were there, they were very basic, and we didn't have to where we are today. But I guess that was a comfort to me that I didn't have to worry about paying people. We already had paying people down. We just did it in a different group, right?
Right. Understandable. I still think it's entrepreneurial, but of course it is a little different. I think the big difference is whether you're getting a paycheck or not. And the first time I did it before IPT, I wasn't, and I wouldn't do it again. Like I literally, it's a long story. I knew that. No, I started a medical staffing business with a yellow pages and a borrowed desk from my attorney, and it didn't go awesome for a while. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see it. So I'm not sure I would do that again. But when I bought IPT, I did have I bought it, put the deal together.
So
'cause
IPT was
wasn't-
already running when you bought it?
Yeah, IPT. I joined IPT. This isn't about me. I'll just say real quick. I joined IPT in 2005 with like 8 people. I grew it, and then in 2015 I bought it, right? And we were doing about 12 million, and I bought it, and I had a salary at that time. So I had some infrastructure that I had built. I was more entrepreneurial when I didn't own it in some ways than when I finally bought it.
Was it because you were willing to take more risk?
Well, the risk there was risk, yeah, and I think there was risk in part because, like when I bought it, you're coming up with money that you don't have, and you're borrowing it. You got to go make it work. You got to
Right.
pay that off. So that was part of the journey in the adventure. But so what really is entrepreneurial? Maybe that's the point, right? Because I had a paycheck.
There's a range, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a range of
I had a paycheck.
entrepreneurial.
I chose not to pay myself more than anyone else for most till very recently, in fact, because I was investing in the business. So those are choices. But I had a check.
I think maybe the more I think about it, even now, that person that starts from scratch with nothing, there's probably fewer people that do that than start with a couple things they can bolt in, and they already have some
Yeah.
structure going, and it makes sense. Hey, I should do this at this point.
And if I were to do it again, I would never start from scratch. I would go buy at least a shell, or I would go buy a small business and
To
then
start it that way.
take it from there, because all of that startup stuff takes years really in this business.
And a lot of lessons learned, I'm sure.
Yeah, but if I could apply those now, I could do. I mean, I've been doing this. I've been here at this company. I started as an employee and I bought it in 2015. And so I've been here for 19 years to get to this point. If I were to do it again, I would hope I could do it a little faster.
You would hope.
Jesus
You're supposed to get
Christ.
smarter as we get older, right?
I know. I
Yeah.
know. So, yeah. So actually, I think the definition of entrepreneur is maybe a lot different than we think that it is. And if you're running your own operation, you're being entrepreneurial. So there are lessons learned in there. So having said that, you got any particular advice to someone else who's call it entrepreneur or not, but in a situation like yours, they want to do what you've done or what you're doing?
I think I'm a conservative by nature, and that's to a fault as well. I think my advice is don't be afraid to take some risk. I think if I look back over my career, I probably could have taken more risk and maybe been a little more successful in other things, even within the Diné Development Corporation.
Do you have a way of managing, measuring, or balancing risk at all? Like, do you have a mechanism or a thought process you use for
Oh,
that?
you can go through everything and say, if this risk happens, what is it going to mean to me? And you can quantify that means, right? And then
Yeah.
at times you can then come up with a mitigation strategy to take that away, right?
Right.
So it just
Right.
depends on what it is. You have to talk, what is the risk? What does it mean to me when it happens? And then what's my step to mitigate against that risk? Because I still might want to do it because the gain is so good.
Agreed. Okay, last topic, unless we just decide to do some other stuff. Doge, government efficiency. What do you think about it? I don't know. What do you think is going to happen? Let's start with that.
Okay, so that's we are definitely living in unprecedented times right now. I think what Doge is doing, it's not unheard of in a lot of company settings. A lot of go and they strip down and they build back what they need, and it's a way of making sure that they're spending their money wisely. So I think that's a good thing. It's just the scale at which we're doing it is unprecedented for the federal government, but I still think it's a good thing. I think the dust has got to settle. I don't know how long that's going to take, but I think when that dust settles, I think that's going to be better for the U.S. economy. There's going to be shifts and moves from where the government probably filled a gap and it was removed, and now we found out that it still needs to be there. Well, if it still needs to be there, there are ways that the government will make changes to make sure that still happens, whether with a different agency taking over the mission, whether it's contractor supported, however it is. And I think that actually we need to go through time and see how that settles. And for those people that have worked for the federal government, got displaced, whatever, if you were working for the federal government, you were pushing whatever the mission was that you worked for, and that's now taken a turn. That doesn't mean that you're not going to get picked up somewhere else doing a fantastic job for a different agency, or possibly on the contractor side at some point. I think we've got to get a point where we let DOGE have an impact, and I think that's going to be the hard part, and that's going to take some time. But I think the economy's going to come back. There's going to be more growth and opportunities in different places, and there's going to be a place for everybody that is looking for a place.
So what do you think? So what is government efficiency? Cost cutting versus mission prioritization? Or something else?
No, I guess I see that as both. I mean, are we spending correctly with taxpayer dollars as we should? I think we always looking at that. Like I said before, there's companies that do this cost cutting exercise. They do this every 5 years or every 10 years to make sure they are being judicious with the funds. So I think the federal government doing that and making sure they're being judicious with the funds is the right thing. Things change over time. And if we don't go back and look at it, we may not realize that we're continuing something that maybe isn't important anymore. Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe we put money at a problem at one point in time and it's no longer a problem. I think that second glance is a good thing, and that's cutting things out. And efficiencies, maybe there's things, I mean, we all know in this industry that there's sometimes more than one person in the government doing the same thing. And I go back to software buys. I think that's the biggest one. The government buys software from vendors with software, but it's not like an enterprise buy. They might be pocketing it, and this DISA might be doing it, the Army might be doing it, and there's different industry or different agencies buying the software. When if they collectively look at economies of scale, I bet the government could get a better deal if they only had one belly button to go buy software, right? So there's an efficiency that might come out of this, right?
It almost kind of feels like, and again, I don't know anything, right? I don't know anything, but it's cost cutting until you get to a balanced budget, because that's what's required. I'm thinking about running my company. You cut costs no matter what it is until you get to a balanced budget, at least within reason. Unless you're investing and you're going to go above and beyond for some reason, but you're cost cutting, and then it's efficiency. Maybe it's a combination, but then then you got to really prioritize. You wonder if we actually got down to a balanced budget. So instead of spending $7 trillion, we spend $5 trillion, because that's what we take in, something like that. Yeah. Then if you prioritize missions and applied efficiencies, do you even need the full $5 trillion?
I
don't know, but
I don't think anybody knows. I think we got to get there. We got to get there first.
You got to get to there first, and then it'd be interesting to see if you did. And the other side of that, of course, is growing the economy. It's a different discussion, but it's another way to kind of meet the need, right? Grow the economy, but
right. There is, on the DOGE front, I feel they're making really, really big swings, and I'm ultimately a cautious conservative person, and I feel like those big swings they're going to hit something they didn't mean to hit. I hope when it happens, we react the right way, the correct way to fix it.
Right.
Because
it's unfortunate that it's so political, because
yes,
that makes it hard to admit you're wrong or something like that. So if they're going to go cut big swaths of things, I agree with you. Then you see that people are going to get hurt. I think that's a given. When you find that thing, you go, fix that, boom, put it right back.
Yeah.
Stop it, whatever that takes to do that. Which kind of leads me to my next question, which was some version of what's the role of contractors in that, or what do you think the impact might be on contractors, however you want to tackle that one. Contractors like us, government contractors.
So I think, I heard recently that some of the top 5 larges were going to want to meet to the president. They want to understand the tariff situation and what does that mean mean to them and their businesses. And, I think that to me resonates with me because, if they're going to, from a manufacturing perspective, they're going to bring manufacturing back to the U.S., that's going to take some investment dollars. That's going to take some time to do that, right?
Yep.
And them coming and asking those questions and how it relates to them, I think that's an important dialogue. Now, take that to us, the industrial base that supports the federal government, right? I think there probably should be some conversations of what the industrial base that supports the federal government now should be looking at to do in support of what could be coming 6 months, 12 months from now, right? What is that, right? Is that an investment in training dollars and technology dollars in a particular type of technology? I'm not sure, but I guess the thing I'm pulling out from your question is, are there conversations at higher levels we can have as an industrial base to prepare us for some of the risk we may be going, and we can mitigate that risk by taking some steps now in lieu.
It's interesting. That brings us back to the kind of section we didn't spend a lot of energy on, but how you affect the industry leadership as a whole, because you're actually talking about, well, we're not one of the top five bigs that goes and talks to the president, but
right.
What's the version of that we do for our type of business and preparing for the future?
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. So one of it is if they cut X number of people, whatever, and there's an impact, or missions need to be replaced. So if government contractors are going to do those missions, positioning yourselves to find those great people to do it. Right. That's kind of an industry leadership kind of a discussion. And what the forum might be to have that discussion. Like, this is one of them, I guess.
This is one of them, but
it's a small one, but
something. If you can start thinking tactically about that, is it something that, the SBA would have to maybe take on as their job jar kind of thing, and carousing, they're decentralized, they're all over the United States, getting smaller forums to feed up to a larger forum to start having some of these conversations, maybe. Maybe so.
So if you were king for a day, what would you prioritize? You got any thoughts on, or either that or how you do it, right? It could be a specific thing or maybe just how you'd approach this. If we agree that the government could be more efficient at a minimum, whatever that is.
Yeah.
You got any ideas of things you'd put out there?
Well, I think you got to start spitballing like this. We're in a whiteboard car.
I think the aluminum or stainless steel we could write on. It's fine.
I think you'd have to start where the cuts are being made, but then as those cuts and things are made, what are the next steps to mitigate any unwanted outcomes from those cuts? Right? I think that would have to be the source.
So there's DOGE, and then there's DOGE follow-up board that's looking at the mission that just got affected and said, uh-oh.
Okay, was this a clean cut?
Which could just be the agency itself, maybe.
Yeah, is it a clean cut? Or are there straggling things that got missed, right?
Right.
That would be an interesting
good thought.
IV&V of the DOGE mission.
Yep. Say what IV&V is for anyone that doesn't know.
What is it? Verification and validation?
Yes.
Internal verification and validation?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Let's see, what's the other one? Oh, I don't know. I haven't asked anyone this, so I don't know if this is a good one or not, but do you see any similarities between what's going on now, DOGE, blah, 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 with like sequestration? Or there was something called A76, I guess, years before that, but like we all went through sequestration.
Yeah, but I think those were baby steps compared to DOGE. I mean, I think those were, hey, let me grab this low-hanging fruit stuff, where DOGE, I think, is doing the big sweeps. Yeah.
It's funny because there are folks that would argue that they're not, because whatever, USAID is $44 billion, even if they do it all, and we've got $2 trillion to find. So do you think he's finding $2 trillion? Or trillion?
I think
even?
that's it. I think his goal is very optimistic.
Yeah.
I mean, we should be asking a question that if he does find it, how did we get here and how do we prevent it from happening again? If there's $2 trillion that can come out of a budget, I mean, I believe taxpayers, I don't think taxes were supposed to be permanent. It started in World War II or something like that, right?
I don't know, but that sounds right, historically.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, if they find that much that can be cut for whatever the reason, how we got there, we need to step back and look at and make sure that we do put things in place to try and not get there again. But
all right, so I'll throw one crazy one out there just to think about.
Can't wait for this one.
I would propose, I think debt isn't necessarily bad, right? We use debt to grow our business. You know, you need a line, you win a big contract, you need a line of credit, and that's good debt as far as I'm concerned. Otherwise, you wouldn't, if you didn't have the cash to hire, whatever, you get a couple months before money comes in, all that. Nationally, you might have a war or something, or COVID or something, like dramatic events that require the use of debt. Of course, when you've already used up all your debt service, you're screwed. But how about a balanced budget amendment, a true balanced budget? I don't know. I don't think that has to be in the Constitution, an amendment. I think it could just be a law, I suspect. But then you build into that law, if something, I don't know how you do it, something a little more than just 60 votes in the Senate and a majority in the House. Maybe just a little more than that. Maybe you have to have 60 in both. I don't know, something like that. And then you could spend more and increase your debt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because how else are you going to stop the crazy growth?
So to be your king for the day, and what you're saying, that's like put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the genie back in the bottle piece is we've already not done that, but now you want us to start doing that and not be able to pass a budget unless it's balanced. Now, where does that fit anywhere else in corporate America where you can spend more than you have?
Anybody that does will just go out of business.
I think it's fiscally responsible to do what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just don't know from where we've been that we have that ability to put that genie back in the bottle and operate that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that it can be done. I mean, who would vote for that? I think American people might vote for that, at least.
It makes sense. It's common sense, right?
It is basically common sense.
Don't spend what you don't have.
Don't spend what you don't have. And if you really do need to use debt, there should be a mechanism to do that. But, Congress controls the purse strings, so the president can't expand on the debt, right? It should just be an agreement and whatever, pass it. Maybe it is just 60 in the Senate and majority of the House, and that's fine. But at least they have to vote, and then they can be held accountable for that vote to increase the debt. What was the reason that you did it, and you had a good reason?
Being devil's advocate a little bit, how are people not held accountable now? Because Congress votes in a budget. But the stuff that they throw in there,
that's fair. So I guess
at the last minute, right? Because their constituents or whatever,
right?
That stuff's got to stop happening.
And the incentive is not there to stop it from happening. So you're right. It has to be something more than just a regular law. Maybe they pass a law, but it has to require more. If you could even do that, I don't even know. I'm not a constitutional attorney or lawyer. All right. Well, that's good. That's interesting. Anything else on efficiency you want to talk about?
No, that's a good topic. And like I said, we should listen to this in about 2 years and see what we said was dumb.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, see what how about we see what we said was actually smart? Might be a thing or two in there.
Right.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate you doing this.
I'm glad you invited me. This was a great experience. I enjoyed it. The car's excellent.
Thanks.
Your mentorship is always welcome.
Yeah, well,
I mean, at the end of the day. So thanks again.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, I'm Bill Williams, Jeff Abney, and we're Failing Daily. And if you want to get any more of this content, go to failingdaily.com, and we've got more stuff up there for you to connect with us and get content.